Welcome back to a Monday edition of the Ad Podcast, coming to you after the Super Bowl. We've got an exciting guest for you guys today. Jake Kitchiner is a UK-based entrepreneur and co-founder of ChannelCrawler, a powerful YouTube influencer discovery tool and database. He launched after identifying a gap in existing solutions while working on prior ventures. The platform allows users to search and filter YouTube channels using up to 40 plus criteria, including categories, subscriber size, location, engagement metrics, and more to facilitate targeted influencer partnerships, sponsorships, and marketing campaigns. He has served as head of partnerships at ChannelCrawler, focusing on the B2B business development side and growth tactics that drew over 35% revenue increase in recent years through simple emotion-driven marketing and transparent communication strategies. He's got a sales and consumer success background, roles in sales management, both in Europe and here in the US. Jake is a frequent podcast guest and speaker on topics of influencer outreach, YouTube marketing for brands, personalized pitching, and building anti-fragile businesses. He's appeared on shows such as Blame It On Marketing, The Revenue Revolution, and Innovators Can Laugh. And he shares tips on insights on creator discovery and decision-making in B2B buying and scaling startups. He's also an active LinkedIn influencer himself and shares founder lessons, marketing tips, and stories from his journey, including how a 3.5-year-old video critique sparked ChannelCrawler's creation originally. Based in the UK, he's passionate about solving real pain points in influencer marketing and helping brands connect authentically with creators. Thanks, man. Really appreciate you coming on, Jake.
Awesome. It feels like they used to have a TV show here, This Is Your Life. And it's like, oh yeah, I did do that podcast and I did do that thing. That's cool. I remember that. I enjoy it and good times. Yeah, but yeah, happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you know, it's fun. I used to do my my bio prep with ChatGPT, and Grok actually seems to pull a lot more information up. So I've switched over to Grok. So pro tip there for those of you who are using AI to get prep for these things. But yeah, man, would love to kind of start off, you know, a little bit about your background and just, you know, what'd you study? Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into the advertising and marketing industry? And tell us a little bit about your journey as you led up to starting ChannelCrawler.
Yeah, awesome. So I grew up in a few different places. We had to move around for different reasons when I was younger. But when I was 11, we settled at a place called Essex, which is an hour north of London. Most people outside the UK, if they've ever heard of it, they know it for the only way is Essex. And I can only say that does not stereotype me. I am not somebody who is like that. But yeah, I went to Sheffield Hallam University. I got what I call a party degree. I went, I had fun, and probably didn't use it for what it should have been. But I learned a lot of good things there. And actually, the first full-time job I actually had was as the student president of Sheffield Hallam. And so you've got to go around, get elected. And from that, I always found that anything you did with marketing, you needed to stand out, be different, and have something to say. And that was always what I tried to do in those campaigns. And as we tried to do any campaigns during that time, and had loads of success with it. So I always loved it. But then I kind of went traveling for a while and just, you know, enjoyed the sun, lived in Australia, and just tried to have fun in my 20s and ended up as a cruise ship entertainer. So a lot of live entertainment, performance. So I've done quiz shows wrapped in hundreds of different formats. And so that was where as we now do, you know, more YouTube videos and more online content, a lot of that comes from the grounding in, okay, how do I keep people entertained? How do I create arcs? How do I create storylines that takes people through, whether it's 30 seconds or a 45-minute show? And then once I came back from that, it was sales related work, and I'd always wanted to start my own thing. So I made extra lunches for school, used to sell them. Then I became the tuck shop owner at school. I used to sell football stickers as well, all these different kind of things. I always had that itch. And a few years ago, I decided it could be an amazing idea to start green product marketplace. And I loved YouTube. Anytime I was traveling on the cruise ships, like YouTube was much easier access than any other TV. And I thought, if I could just create a brand, if I can just get people to this green product marketplace, they'll buy so many things and we can help people understand, like, what's the right product for you? Because green products are so hard to choose because you never know what's right for you or what's even green anyway. But it was really, really hard to do. Building that brand and getting people to that site is really difficult. And just building a marketplace. I don't know if people have tried it, but it's hectic. And I bumped into the people at ChannelCrawler as I was trying to find some YouTubers and was like, hey, this is cool, but the site's rubbish. We don't have any YouTubers hardly on here. And I think we can do a lot more with this. And we sat down in a pub and we agreed we could do more of it. And it was a year part-time. It's been 2 and a bit years full-time. And here I am today on the podcast.
I love it, man. So, you guys are a little bit of a newer tool, at least from my purview. I've been in the paid social space around YouTube and influencer marketing for almost 15 years. And I started to hear about you guys probably in the last couple of years. Obviously, there are some tools that are, let's call them legacy tools that have been around for a little bit longer. So what was kind of the main thing that you were seeing that was like the gap in the marketplace where you felt like the tools that were kind of out there weren't quite, matching up to what you needed as a marketer as you were looking for YouTube channels yourself? And, why did you guys decide to enter a marketplace where there were, some incumbents that had been around for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely a lot of tools in the space, and I don't think the space is saturated at all. I think actually we could do with more. And
wow,
generally, because we're all so close to it, we think, oh, there's so much noise, there's so much happening. But I try and ground myself in conversations with people who are very much outside of the space, and there's still more people that I survey that aren't in our social, aren't in our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube world, that don't know that these tools exist versus are using a competitor. So I still think the biggest piece is, can we get more people into the environment? And as we've seen with YouTube's rapid growth, they announced their revenue that's increased over the last 3 years. People are moving to YouTube and they're moving at real pace. But where the difference is when I was looking for it for this green product marketplace, it was the fact that a lot of the tools are very expensive, and some of them, such as like Creator IQ, I've never had anybody come to me and say, I don't think Creator IQ is very good. I would say if you can afford it, it's going to be better than our tool. But the difference is sometimes over 10 times more. And that's for one user, right? And so if you're a marketer that's at the start of their journey, they just want to find a few YouTubers. Maybe you're a newish tech brand, you want to find 5 to 10 partners to do a few integrations and a walkthrough, right? That's already quite something new, and you don't want to dip into a 12-month contract and go through that. So just being able to come onto the platform, really easily find some YouTube channels, and YouTube specifically as well, because most of the platforms, I would say, and I might be wrong, are more tailored towards Instagram, TikTok. But we work with a lot of tech brands or consumer brands in like the space of crypto, for example, that are really YouTube focused and YouTube first. And there wasn't a platform like that. And the other part, they do say you should be passionate about what you do. And I love YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube. I get distracted in YouTube holes, and I don't have an Instagram account. So my knowledge just as a user and as an experience and what I enjoy is infinitely passionate about YouTube and less so with others. But not to say that they don't work. Obviously they do. And there's a time and place for each of them. But my passion's in YouTube.
Yeah, I love that. I think the flexibility and the pricing is a major point of differentiation. I don't know a lot about your business model, so we'll have to get into how that works. But yeah, obviously, some of these legacy tools, like you said, they are built on legacy code. They're built on, where people generally start with creator marketing, which is Instagram and TikTok first, and then they usually graduate to YouTube because YouTubers can be a little bit more expensive and the integrations are harder to do. So tell us a little bit about the business model, because I think that's important. Like, I feel like the SaaS companies that are winning these days are the ones that have flexibility, right? They can service an enterprise account with 10 people doing lots and lots of integrations. They can also service a startup that maybe doesn't want to commit to a long-term contract, and they just want to be able to discover a handful of creators and kind of get their feet wet. So talk about your guys' business model and how it's different, and why did you guys think about flexibility and, kind of basically attracting entry-level customers as a way to differentiate?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things that are just done because of the way that I dislike other platforms or ways to utilize things. So I get frustrated if I have to sign up for more than a month. A lot of subscriptions to certain things. It's changing a lot now, but at the time, you also had to buy significantly more than I needed as a starter user. It's just like, I want to try something. And so what the model is, and I think can work for a lot of businesses, I think Slack is a great example of it, is if you allow people to start small, they will probably grow with you if they like your product. And so you think of Slack, it's maybe there's 3 or 4 of you in your company, but that grows, and then you bring in freelancers, contractors, other people that need to be in other channels, and suddenly your account is 10x. And in ours, it's like, oh, okay, well, we just want to find 1 or 2 YouTubers. Oh, that worked. Maybe we want to find 50 to 100. Maybe we need to do this regularly all the time. And suddenly the number of users on the platform and the usage that you need grows with that. And we also serve 2 quite different markets overall. So you have the influencer and affiliate managers that come on and look for those to sponsor. There is a bit of a tangent to the people who sell to creators and often need to use it as a lead generation platform. YouTubers make the most money. And so being able to find the right ones with the right view counts and go and pitch a service to them. For instance, creator investment funds, a number of them will use our platform because they want to find new channels to invest in and ones that they haven't seen before up and coming. But then what we're also starting to see, and is more of our enterprise side as well, where maybe 3 or 4 people are trying to do lead generation for an investment fund, and that's quite common. Whereas we do programmatic advertising. So anybody that watches YouTube, if you're a parent, you might put CoComelon on or a similar kids channel, and you're logged in as a 30-year-old, 40-year-old with kids to watching a kids channel, but it's sending Revolut adverts because it thinks it's speaking to, in my case, like a 36-year-old man, but it's not. It's speaking to my niece, a kid. And so it's just a waste of money. So we work with a lot of big agencies that are trying to do better programmatic advertising for the number of brands they work with and say, cool, we just want to make sure that we release advertising on a tech channel or somebody that's doing like entrepreneurship. And that means that Revolut is far more targeted in who we try and reach. Or if it's a fitness product, let's make sure it's in the health and fitness space, because it's likely then that we're going to be like whitelisting the channel, quote unquote, on the right space. And then we've got not only the demographics that we can pull from YouTube, but also just the right actual channel or video that it's going on to. And so we build that into an enterprise side as well. But it's quite good actually, because we find that a number of people that have come from that have been word of mouth, who have actually known us for being a YouTube channel, place to find influencers. And then suddenly it's progressed into that. And so we have that growth phase that hopefully the customers grow with us. And then the programmatic side has been something that's picked up a lot more in the last year, as people don't see programmatic advertising on YouTube as an add-on anymore or a nice to have. I think it's becoming a must-have. Biggest streaming platform in the US. It's where people watch their podcasts more than anywhere else. And so it's becoming, you have to play in that space. But YouTube, as you said, has always been more difficult, right? It can be more expensive when you run your ads on it. You have to do that within Google Ads, and that's unique and something you have to learn as a skill set on its own. Whereas there's a lot of similarities between when you run Meta ads and Facebook and Instagram, and when you do that then across like TikTok, and what videos you need to use in order to be successful, the verticals that you put them on. Whereas YouTube's its own space and its own beast, and that's something you have to master itself. But we're finding more people want to get into that, and that's great for us, because as YouTube grows, we grow, right? So we kind of celebrate when they do well.
I love that. So talk about specialization, because most influencer marketing platforms don't specialize in a particular platform. They try to ingest data and creator profiles from anywhere and everywhere they can find them, even on niche platforms or even in blogs. So what does that do for you as a creator discovery platform to be wholly focused on YouTube, and how does that help you differentiate from the competitive set?
Yeah, one downside to that is we definitely lose potential customers from it. In fact, if I'm going to do a demo call with somebody, one of the first questions I ask if they think they want more than YouTube is that okay? Like, do you want other platforms? Because we don't have them. We might do them one day, but we don't have any plans at the minute to add those in and don't have the data for it. And that can actually cut off quite a lot of people there and then. But what it does on the opposite side is we have the largest channel of YouTube, largest database of YouTube channels in the world outside of YouTube, the one that you can actually go and index and search. And that's because we double down on our efforts all the time to be finding for one particular platform. So we become the best at it and we have the most data on it. It's also good for marketing in the sense of, if you think of like SEO and AEO, so how you're found in Google or through LLMs, is a really big part of our marketing strategy. And all the signals about finding YouTube channels can become diluted if we have other platforms as well. But we're a much smaller player in the market. But we do find that in testing that we do, and also through our own analytics as well that we see, through Google Analytics, through HubSpot, that when people are searching for how to find YouTube channels, because ChannelCrawler is specific at that and we say we have the most, we actually get a lot of referrals through that and can start that customer sign up, free sign up, first starting point. So whilst it turns a lot of people away, in itself is like, if you were asked, I mean, maybe you just say yes because you're on the call, but you go, I'm looking for more YouTube channels, so they just don't have enough for my influencer marketing, and we're working with Claude Code Perplexity. And you say, okay, well, actually, I know that one that's specific for YouTube channels because we come to top of mind. Now, it might be that other platforms have a similar number. I've not met one that actually does, but it might, that might be, I don't know all the platforms out there, but the recognition of YouTube channels because you're known for something, that's what you do, does have a really good leg up. As we grow and as we scale and as we do more, maybe that will have to change. But there's no plans to at the minute, because at the minute we have a niche, we're known for that niche, we want to get better at that niche and do more with it. And so we feel like there's still a lot of room to grow doing that, as opposed to expanding via the different databases, different platforms.
So you talked about something that's really important and interesting and at the top of every marketer's mind right now, which is AEO. Also, Google is trying to hit back and use every advantage that it has to continue to own user behavior around search, whether that's search inside of Gemini or inside of the traditional, Google searching bar. Google has highly indexed YouTube Shorts as part of its algorithm for AEO. I wonder, how have you guys incorporated the explosion of shorts and the fact that there are certain creators that only post vertical video and in shorts and they don't do long form? How are you guys juggling the idea that YouTube itself is becoming a little bit more like some of these other platforms with the advent of shorts and the prioritization of shorts?
Yeah, it's been something that I would actually admit we've probably been slow to react to. We've tried a few different formats and some work, some don't, as you would expect. And we are finding that the best format for something like a tech tool is, here's how to do something very quickly. So it's like 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, but probably around a minute maximum, I would say. And I'm seeing this with other tech platforms as well. Here's how to do something very quickly. And it shows you that that is possible. And then you're trying to direct to a long form video that actually shows somebody through that process. Because if we've given, a snippet of advice or a snippet of something that we think is interesting and related to YouTube itself, it just seems to get no views, or not none, but not very many. That the watch time is quite low because people aren't really being taken through a story. It's like, oh, this is a bit of boring advice. And so we're finding faster, snappier, this is how to do something, use it as a discovery engine, and then that directs to a longer form piece of content, is having good success. And you see that actually, we probably should have just known that's relatively what is actually happening with bigger creators now, right? YouTube Shorts is a place where they can be discovered. They tell a storyline, they bring people to their main channel, and that's where they want people ideally to come because better revenue, more watch hours, etc., etc. And so we're finding it's actually a very similar format with that. The interesting part as well is we found that since we've started to do more YouTube Shorts, again, we're just starting to see more hit rates through AEO as it indexes them very quickly and then says, okay, like here's a relevant piece to what this user is trying to find, trying to talk about. And we're seeing a few of our YouTube Shorts actually get us better in terms of their LLM as well. So we think it's a place that we need to do more and actually want to work with more creators and ambassadors for ChannelCrawler to do. But yeah, I mean, we're not perfect at everything. We're still small. And I would definitely say YouTube Shorts is not a place that we have gotten to fast enough. Because I've always thought of YouTube as long form. And as you say, like this last year, that has completely changed. And we haven't changed with it. So that's something that we have to do.
I love it. So you guys started, well, you're obviously sitting in the UK. I don't know if the company was originally UK based. Did you guys start with focusing on UK influencer channels and trying to find customers in the UK, or were you guys global from day one or focused on the US market from day one? Tell me more about, where you sit in the world and how that has influenced your growth plans.
Yeah, I would say this is actually largely luck. There's not really much more than we could put it down to, because my co-founder Joffrey used to be a YouTuber and one of the original Here's How to Grow on YouTube. Got to 50,000 subscribers in the Netherlands, and we're talking like 10 years ago. So 50,000 is good now, but this was really, really big. And he just created ChannelCrawler as a little database to find other creators to collaborate with, because one of his notions was that if you collaborate with people, share audiences, get people to your channel, get more exposure, and have fun with other creators. So he created that as a small database and left it online as a free tool. And then me and my other co-founder, Seb, when we came very close at the same time, we're like, this is actually really cool. You could do loads with this. Like, if we actually had more channels and targeted more people, we could actually bring more people to the platform actively rather than just whoever finds it because they've happened to stroll across it. So when we actually started doing that, we already had people from the US, 5 or 6 countries in Europe, so Netherlands being one, UK being another, which is how we found it, Germany, France, and then quite a lot in Asia, so India, Pakistan. We were like, okay, cool. People all around the world love YouTube. People want it. But what we did notice at the time was we probably wanted to get more US traffic, best market to be in, and we didn't have many US channels. So we actually, fortunately, then got quite good at going, we want channels from a certain region. How do we go and find more channels through our various sources to get more channels in the US to be of more interest to those places? And then we've slowly done that for other countries as well. But we're actually very fortunate that we happened to be global almost before we started. And it's not like, we were amazing and suddenly doing like 7-8 figures in revenue within the first three months. It just happened to be that when we first made the tool actually good and so it completely functioned, because some of the buttons didn't work on the free tool before it was an actual company. We had to fix everything and make it work. But when we put that paywall on and said, look, we've got a much more improved version. You can use the old free one or you can use the paid one. I think some of the first sort of 50 people that signed up were from 7 or 8 different countries. So we were quite fortunate with that. But when we do the targeting now, as you said, like LinkedIn is a great place to do it. I'd recommend that to anybody. UK and US, and trying to make connections with people in those places and do more with those are 2 great markets, because UK is 60 million people in a very densely populated area, and US is the biggest market in the world. And so you have 2 very good places to be in. Plus, it's easy for me to go and visit people in London. I can just get the tube. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Maybe I'll cycle. So that's a nice bit. And I do love going to the US. So I'd like to do that more. So if there's people that are interested in ChannelCrawler and I can, budget a flight out there because we are interested in it, let me know, because I would love to do that more.
Let's go. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the recruitment angle. You mentioned that there was a period of time where, when I sat on the management side of the house, I represented the world's largest female fitness creator. And, I would get during COVID, maybe 100 pitches a day from startups that said, we're the creator economy, we're the Cameo of this industry or whatever. And it was kind of a big space. And I feel like kind of the creator economy boom and bust is kind of over. And now it's like the companies that have established themselves, but you don't see as many startups in the creator economy space. But creator recruitment remains high priority for creator economy companies. You mentioned creator economy venture capitalists that are trying to launch and build brands with creators. You also have the fact that every single brand needs a creator strategy, needs an affiliate strategy, needs a UGC strategy. So how important is it on just giving different enterprise clients the ability to reach out to creators at scale? And how do you guys source, not just channels, but channels that actually have like valid contact information?
Yeah, it's a lot of that is the secret sauce. And so I think when it comes to YouTube, everybody has different ways of sourcing that data. But we work with a few people that we've trusted over the years to buy data from. There's also a little industry secret that some of our competitors and we're very friendly with lots of our competitors. So we'll swap data sets and we'll do that because, again, as I said earlier, I think we're all richer for sharing and trying to raise the profile of the creator economy. So if one of our competitors has success, they're actually quite likely to then say, oh, they could come over to ChannelCrawler and you could use that for this specific piece. So for example, in that I've worked with a company called Sorrel, or Sorrel. I'd never know how to pronounce it, and they've told me so many times. Sorry to Sorrel or Sorrel. But they will. I will say, if you need an all-in-one tool, they're an excellent influence marketing tool where you can go cross-platform, you can do gifting, and you can do your creator payments in. And they're things that we don't do. But if you want YouTube channels at scale, like they say, you can actually supplement that with ChannelCrawler. And so there's somebody else that within certain niches and categories we've sold data to and said, here's a wide data set. But there's not really much more like than that. Like I've tried to create really good relationships with anybody that's a substitute or competitor. We've done some of those purchases in the past. They purchase from us, and all of our systems are set up that we would go and find channels that are up and coming, that are interesting. And we also, even as well, work with some YouTubers who put together literal like YouTube charts. Here's who grew the fastest, who grew this. And if one of our channels isn't in there that they've noticed and seen, and because we're in all these Discord, or I'm in all these Discord chats, like learning about all these YouTubers and seeing what's going on, they'll also just upload them to our system. And so one of the best things that we actually find is if you've got a list of 100 creators that you want to outreach to, you can import that into our system. We'll go and look at those channel IDs, and then we'll go and find emails for them and the rest of the data, and then enrich that for you, and you can then extract that from our platform. AI has made it infinitely easier to do. But what we actually used to do, like very simply, was we just used to have email collectors, and they would go through the capture forms for us, and they would bring them back to us. We would put it in the platform. And then once that had been on the platform for a year, that would signal an alert, and then somebody else would go and check that and then bring in another one. It was really unsophisticated. But now there are systems that are set up where it goes through a two-step process. So AI will go and look for it. I think lots of people will look just in the channel description itself. If they can't find it there, it goes to websites, other social handles, tries to find it through that. And then once it's put it into the database, like a second thing is set up to go and look for it and then validates that. And then we have an email verification tool as well, which every email goes through after that. And it's like, then test whether an email would send to that email in particular. And so we have a two-step process to go and find it. And if we do find it, then we verify it through our email verification tool. And then, people can just literally just click download on all of the email contacts that are in their list, however they've chosen to put that list together.
One other thing I mentioned is sitting on the receiving end of a busy email address can be quite time intensive, even if you are a manager and that's your job. I've met creators like Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon who've told me that they've abandoned their email completely, their generic email, because it's just too much spam. A lot of times reaching out to creators via email is actually harder to break through these days because of how much noise is being sent, especially through AI. I wonder, had you guys ever thought about taking those emails that you have, using that, because you mentioned whitelisting, could you whitelist the emails themselves and actually use that as a targeting mechanism to create a piece of creative that's specifically meant to recruit creators and run that as a whitelist against those email addresses that you have?
We are considering in the future how we can do more for creators. So a creator could come into ChannelCrawler, make themselves much more discoverable and get some value out of it by being able to look at a lot of their historical YouTube data that's not as easily available through YouTube Studio. So for example, you can go into your YouTube Studio and you can look at how many subscribers you have today, and you can look at that little chart which tells you over the last amount of time. We can actually give you an export file of the last 365 days, which may be really interesting to you to go, this is the day in particular that you actually saw a rise, and you can do different things with that. So it's definitely something that we have thought about and are thinking about actively, like how can we do more there, especially as we want to do a lot more with brand discoverability in the platform as well. So NordVPN are a great example. They sponsor thousands of YouTube channels. Is there a way that we can do something where NordVPN is much more trackable in our platform, and that a brand can come in and use it from their own perspective? But we're not quite there yet. I definitely do think it's the right thing. When it comes to email outreach, I've personally done webinars on it. There's a few resources on how to email creators. I'm very anti send out as many as you can all at once, because it just doesn't work. People won't read them, and they'll know that it's AI generated to an extent because of how much slop comes through. And there's actually a really good customer releasing a YouTube video on what they did shortly, actually. But GetPoppy.ai, what they've done in the platform is they've gone through thousands of creators and created a shortlist. And then they've broken that down into three buckets. So these are our really high intent. We need to make sure we've got multi-touch point across multi different platforms like Twitter, Instagram, trying to reach them, trying to even create a network where we can get into their space. So not just reaching out to that email. Can we find out other creators that they're friends with? Can we find out who their manager is? Can we find out who's running a program of theirs, if they've got a course or a coaching service? Then they've got the middle ones, which people they really want to speak to, where they'll just use those platforms and email to try and reach out, all manual. And then the third bucket is people who fit into a very specific type of creator. So it would be a niche, for example. These all talk about AI, and they've got at least this many videos and this many views, and they can do a pretty tight-ish personalized email and still get a lot of responses by being very direct about the type of content that person creates and writing it specifically for that niche and group. And then suddenly you've got infinitely more replies and people that are interested. And the other part of it as well is like they do have a good product, which always helps if you're trying to get people to use it or to sponsor them to sell it. And I think doing things like that is great. But where I definitely see customers of ours fail, and always try to tell them before they do it, is if you just pull a list of 1,000 creators, send out roughly the same email, or even mildly personalize it with ChatGPT, get very limited replies, and you'll probably hurt your domain as well, because you send it from your inbox and then you get marked as spam, and then you're trying to email your actual customers and you're marked as spam, and fairly so as well, because it's just slop and it's just crap. And there is a very hard balance that we have as a platform, trying to educate people to do it the right way, to get responses, to be responsible as senders of emails, but also being somebody that gives them, if they want to, they could get 1 million emails from our database and send them all on the same day. We wouldn't recommend it, obviously, but we do. We enable people to do that, and that's a fine line to walk, right? That we say don't do it, but technically you can do that on our platform. And we sell it as something that you can do something to that extent of. Like, if you want to sell to creators, this is a great tool for lead generation. Here's thousands of leads you can go and email at once, but it's not a good process to go through. Yeah. We wrestled with that all. I actually had we were literally talking about that 2 hours ago. Like, how do we be more responsible in making sure that people email in a way that doesn't ruin email for everyone? Because it's not just us, but it's, we are part of that. And how do we make it so it's a better place for all? Which is a question we did not answer in that meeting.
Well, I like your approach of client education, right? Like, you guys are giving them the examples. I love that example of Poppy, how you showed them like, hey, here's how you qualify your different tiers of like your tier 1, your tier 2, your tier 3. And you need different strategies with each of them. Some are going to be more high touch and more of an investment in time and relationship building. Some are going to be more AI generated, but you need to figure out what your priorities are. You can't just go, blasting and hoping that that's going to net good results. So I love that. You also mentioned something that was really important, the idea that YouTube is now actually the largest platform for podcasting. It's bigger than Spotify now. A lot of people watch YouTube videos throughout their day, sitting in their desktop experience or on their phone. But many people retire in the evening to their couch and they watch 1 to 5 hours of YouTube long form videos, 5-hour podcasts with the Sean Ryan Show or Lex Friedman or, some of these other folks, sitting in front of a large TV, which is, dedicated space, in the living room that's more of a lean in experience. Can you talk about the rise of podcasting as a category within the YouTube ecosystem and why that's more important for brands to pay attention than ever?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's always a thing in marketing when you're trying to reach your audience, you're trying to reach them where they're at, right? And so podcasting in the last 10 years has gone from zero to millions of listeners every day. And it's becoming more and more popular because people can be very specific about what they want to listen to and who they want to listen to, right? There's a bit of a joke going at the minute. Everybody's starting a podcast. I think they
Here we
start,
are.
and then six episodes, six episodes later they're done. So you're way ahead of them. But it's a bit of a running joke. I'm going to start a podcast. Oh, yeah, okay. I wonder when they're going to quit. But what's happening is if you want to reach people where they are, the reason that podcasts are so successful is because you feel a very personal attachment to the host because they are in your ear for 45 minutes to an hour, like sometimes 3 hours, often more than once per week. And so you feel like you grow an affinity with them because all the time they're dropping in things about their personal lives and who they are and what their values are and what their beliefs are. And it might be that you listen to a mega influencer, like Stephen Bartlett's the biggest one in the UK, Diary of a CEO.
Yeah,
And
he's great.
you might not be hugely bought into him. It might be that you listen like per guest, but you do know that he is entrepreneurial, that he's got a lot of good ideas around how to run businesses, and he's very health focused. So him getting those impressions out, and you go, okay, well, he said that Huel is good. Maybe I can just have a little bit of a look into it. But people who are making you convert over a period of time are the ones that you listen to and that you trust. And what's happening on video is if I'm watching it on video, I'm not watching it on that other podcast. So I need to make sure in that marketing term, you're reaching people where they're at. But the other part is that if you're doing it in video, I don't know, what an exact message. I don't want to say it's like tenfold, but if you're watching somebody for that period of time and taking in all they say and all still those personal anecdotes, who they are, understanding about them, and then they're recommending the products, and then you can see that product as well. And so there's an example of a podcast that I listen to. It's a cricket one, so it's very niche. I don't know how many people listen to it, but they talk about these big boots, and suddenly it's like, oh, they're talking about these boots. They look great. I don't really wear boots. Maybe I should wear boots. And they're, very, very wholesome on this cricket podcast. They talk a lot about politics when it comes up and when it means something for cricket. Like India, Pakistan, there's a lot going on in geopolitics, and that's caused chaos during this World Cup. And they talk about that, and they talk about what's the right thing for people and what to do. So when they recommend these boots and they say, yeah, and also it's like a family-owned company, and we know the family, and they're really good, and this is how they vision their business. I'm like, maybe I should get some boots. And I'm like, I've never been in the market for boots. And now I can see these boots as well. I'm like, they are actually quite cool. So it's like, yeah, it's Big Boots UK. There you go. I'm sponsoring them. And I see that a lot, like how I talk about, how we run the company and make decisions is, I don't like that. So I can't get behind it in terms of charging people loads on the first go. This one is that as podcasts grow, people want to watch it on that video. They want to spend time with that creator and see what's happening. And it's such a growing market there. And it's only going to get bigger as well. And that's whether it's, smaller niche podcasts or the really big ones that are hitting huge numbers of impressions. But podcasts will continue to be one of the best ways to sell and advertise but if you think of Mr. Beast, it's a game show and he has huge amounts of influence, so tons of chocolate to kids. But if he was to then do a different type of product, maybe it wasn't his own, like T-Mobile he's been involved in, does have less of an impact because you feel like, well, he's a game show host and he's entertainment and he still has huge influence. I'm not doubting that. But you've got the podcast who they are always talking from their own personal perspective and as a human being. None of it's put from, somebody else's perspective or of course, there's a persona to an extent, but it's not a persona of like, I'm the game show host. Or now look at T-Mobile. It's like, well, yeah, like they sell a VPN. You can use a VPN to watch cricket in a different country. There's an easy sell. Or if you travel a lot because of your work like we do, there's another personal story. Whereas Mr. Beast, like, you can use that VPN to do those things, but that's not something he's doing or you see him do. And I think that has a different bit. I talk about this a lot. I'm very passionate about what podcasts and video podcasts can do, especially. So that probably was a bit of a ramble.
No, I love it. Well, I think you're also talking about an important user behavior function, right? So I listen to podcasts when I'm driving and I watch podcasts at night when I'm just looking to relax. And when I'm listening to podcasts on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, usually I'm driving down the street and I can't really do anything about the ads that I hear or the host read. So even if the hosts say something that I'm interested in, unless I pull over or like, pull my phone out and maybe, be unsafe while driving, chances are I'm just going to like maybe make a mental note of it. But then
Mm.
if I don't remember next time I'm in, Amazon or wherever I could actually look up and buy the product, I'm not going to do anything about it. But when I'm sitting at home watching it on a big TV, and like you said, I see the visual, and then maybe there's a QR code for a discount, and I've got my phone sitting right next to me, boom, the user behavior is way more easy to move down the purchasing funnel than when you're listening to podcasts. So I think that visual element, I think, is really important because you get to see products, not just hear about them, but it's also the user behavior of being in a position where you can actually go down the purchase funnel. So I really love that demonstration that you outlined. All right, let's talk about you as a LinkedIn influencer because I love the content that you put out. A lot of times you're almost like anti-influencing and you're like making fun of influencer culture on LinkedIn, and the fact that LinkedIn's kind of become, a place for influencers. So I love it. I'm here for it for sure. But tell me a little bit about your conscious decision to be a little bit more irreverent on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think it's because in line with trying how I do everything is, I mean, this sounds like LinkedIn reverent, but it's values based and true to myself. Because then if it goes wrong, at least I feel like, I made that decision in good conscience. And so I, I've, I struggled to get onto LinkedIn, first of all, like I think a lot of people do, where it feels like it has to be super professional and it has to look a certain way. And that's what LinkedIn is. And if you don't do that, you won't be respected or people will laugh at you. And actually, what I found is most of the time people want to laugh and they want to be entertained. They do want to find something interesting. And so there's ways to put that across. But for me, it's like, let's just enjoy the content and let's enjoy putting it out there. Now, some of that sometimes, I wouldn't say comes across like serious, but there's no like jokes and humor in there because I'm talking about here's a piece of data or here's how we've done something and here's how you can grow it. But I don't want it to be a lecture. I'm just kind of trying to give a story of this is how we've done it. This is something that led to X amount of growth or did this. And, if you could replicate that. And then every so often, I think it's just fun to put something funny on there. It doesn't add any value to people apart from maybe making a smile, but it makes me smile. And I'm one of those people that will laugh at their own jokes. And sometimes, even though I'm not always that funny, like just, if you don't find it funny, why would you do the joke? So, yeah, I tried to put that out across there. And it's similar. I've started doing events locally in London for marketers. And I think that, panel being talked at, I don't want to be like, this is dead, because it has a time and a place. But I've been to so many events where you just get talked at all day. You don't really get to meet anybody. You don't learn a huge amount because you're tired and bored. So how can you create events that you just actually want to go to? And I take that into a LinkedIn post as well. Is this something that I actually want to read or I'm interested in? And then put it out there. And a lot of people give different things about it should be, you can plan your content, you can reuse some, you can do this. I very rarely do that. I just write kind of what I think at the weekend when I'm putting my post together, or like the one that I wrote this morning was just like, oh yeah, actually we've got a wait list for our next events. Let me just post the fact that we've got that. And then that's it. There's no real structure to it. I don't know. People seem to like it, I guess. I hope.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, I think, there's a couple of things out that you're kind of feeding into. One is the prevalence of AI slop, right? So a lot of people are using AI to write their LinkedIn posts and it just adds no value. And you can tell that it's written by ChatGPT. So there's definitely becoming like LinkedIn thought leader blindness, I think, where,
Mm.
People are either getting unfollowed or people just see that it's AI. So it's like, why am I going to pay attention to something that somebody just dumped into ChatGPT and I could go find myself if I looked at ChatGPT? But I also think there's this, this idea of like founder-led brands and, people buy from people. They don't buy from companies. So they want to buy from people who they could see themselves maybe getting along with or spending time with or enjoying, because we're all skeptical and, business relationships ultimately mean that I'm going to have to at least get on the phone with somebody once in a while. So I want to like them. So yeah, I think it's a great strategy. I think, you want to add value, but I think things that add your personal voice and kind of who you are as a normal human being, stand out, because a lot of times LinkedIn is almost too professional in a lot of ways. So I definitely, do that from time to time. I think it's a good strategy. So I appreciate your post for sure. And I'll continue to be following along. Well, Jake, fascinating conversation. I think it's really apropos, especially coming off Super Bowl and all the ways that influencers and creators and YouTube was just leveraged in the big game.
What was your favorite Super Bowl ad? Just off the top, didn't prep for that bit, but it does feel very fresh, right? It feels like maybe we should have done it at the top. But what was your favorite Super Bowl advert, or maybe the worst one as well? A bit of clickbait, controversial, worst advert slammed on the ad podcast.
Yeah, good question. I didn't. Well, I would say I thought the Coinbase one was pretty bad this year. I think Coinbase has done a better job in leveraging like lo-fi when they did the the QR code that was bouncing around the screen and stuff like that. Yeah. They basically just took a song and and did like a karaoke thing, and like it stood out, and we're talking about it, right? Maybe that's their approach, is just to make something that people talk about. And but I didn't feel like the execution of what they've been able to pull off with that lo-fi budget in the past was as meaningful. I would say the one that think it stands out in my mind, just off the cuff, not thinking about answering the question, is I really enjoyed the Dunkin' Donuts one. Just like, how many celebrities can you mash into an ad?
They've done some good ones in the past as well. I do like that one.
And I'm sure they spent tons and tons of money on it, but like when I walk away from that thinking about like Jennifer Aniston and Ben Affleck and like all the celebrity star power, and being able to mash up that world of like Friends, which I know people are nostalgic for and watching a lot on streaming these days. That's the one that definitely stood out to me. And there were actually quite a few that were good this year, but that would be my vote. As best was Dunkin' Donuts and worst was Coinbase, in my opinion. How about you?
So I really liked the Lay's one. I just thought that was really well done, quite like a heartfelt, because most of the time they're quite funny, but this one was quite different. I know it technically wasn't a Super Bowl advert, but I really liked DoorDash using 50 Cent and kind of getting in the mix, but not actually doing it. And I think that actually created a bit of viralness, in the sense they went, we're just going to make a Super Bowl ad, but we're not going to make it. And then 50 Cent, I used to be able to rap a full album of his, so I'm a big fan. One I didn't think that the Pepsi one was very good. Lots of people said that they thought it was really good, but I just thought, well, the taste test was like years ago. I don't know how many people would remember that. Like, I was pretty young when they did that, and it was a big thing, and I was young, sort of 20 odd years ago. So that's one bit. And then they did the Coldplay concert, but I didn't get that until someone told me. I was like, oh yeah, okay. And like when we hosted an event, I did a quiz, and there was a whole question around it and a whole roundtable discussion. So I was like, well, there might have been a lot of people that missed out. I was just like, could have done something more. So yeah, that was my least favorite. Oh, and I really liked Anthropic with the with the ad about how do I have a better relationship with my mum? And then, but if you want to get for cougars, it was like, okay, yeah, quite like that. That was that was very funny. So I did enjoy that one. So there we go. I'm gonna go best Lay's, but also notable shout outs for also Dunkin' Donuts, Uber Eats. But yeah, the worst one was probably and Anthropic, but the worst one for me was Pepsi.
Yeah, that's funny. Pepsi, I don't even remember seeing it, to be honest, which is probably bad, since I feel like I sat through most of the Super Bowl. Well, Jake, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time and talking to our audience about the work that you guys are doing with ChannelCrawler. If folks want to learn more about it or connect with you directly, where would you like to send folks?
Yeah, always LinkedIn. I was true to my word. I don't have Instagram, although I do think about getting it, but I'm just not good at it. So LinkedIn would be the best place to reach me directly. But if you want to try and find YouTube channels at scale, it's channelcrawler.com. And like I say, easy to access, free trial there. So knock yourself out.
Amazing. And for those of you who are watching, if this is the first time you're seeing the show, don't forget to give us a follow or a subscribe. If you're listening to the show, an honest review on whatever podcast platform you happen to be listening on is how we find a larger audience organically. And last but not least, if there's a marketer out there who needs to think to step up their game on their YouTube outreach and YouTube integrations, or maybe a creator who maybe wants to get more insights about their channel, or just somebody who you think would benefit from the conversation I had with Jake today, don't forget to share the show. And have a great week, everybody. Thanks again, Jake.
Thanks so much for having me. Cheers now.